Okay, I'm going to explain a little bit more about um, the difference between chimps and humans. And it turns out that instead of they're actually, when they compare chimps and humans, they're only comparing 2% of the DNA, and 98% of the DNA they claimed was junk. But they were only comparing the protein coding DNA, and it seems like it's only 2%, which is really absurd. And that means that they're more of a liar than they ever were before, than I ever thought, and than I ever could imagine. But so what I'm going to do now, I'm just going to play a little clip of what they do compare. This is going to be only what they do compare in chimps and human, and why it is so wrong. And it's just really strange how they would do something like that. So here is a little clip from Answers in Genesis. They do a lot of pretty good work. And I'm just going ahead and play this little snippet of a video they just recently put up. And we'll listen to what Dr. Georgia Purdom has to say. She's one of the few people, she's a geneticist that has taken the heat for the creation movement as a scientist. And there's not too many other geneticists willing to take the heat.
Very important. But they don't say we're 100% the same. Okay, they do say there are some differences. So then what are they counting? If they're not counting, well, they're only really counting one type of difference, okay? The only type of difference that they think makes a difference, and that is what is called substitutions in aligned regions. So what they do is they will say, well, in these aligned regions, there are places where you have chimp DNA and human DNA, or sorry, human DNA and chimp DNA, but they're different. So for example, you have a T in the human and you have a G in the chimp, or you have an A in the human and you have a G in the chimp. So they both have DNA there, but it's different. Now they think that it was those differences that made all the differences. Now, do they know that, right? Have they experimentally shown that it's these differences that make the difference between a human and a chimp? No. Okay, there's no experimental evidence for this, but the reason they count this particular type of difference because it gives you a 1.23% difference between humans and chimps, which is why you get 98 to 99% similarity. And they say that many differences could occur in our evolutionary time frame of 6 million years. Okay.
Yeah. So it's very deceptive. The very deceptive practice of promoting evolutionism when there's no evidence of evolution whatsoever. It's just really crazy. I mean, they're comparing 2% of our DNA, which is the coding for proteins, and they're saying, look, these small differences in the proteins, these are what makes us different. But it's only the coding for making proteins. It's not the 98% of DNA that makes us humans that controls the coding for making proteins. It's just so absurd. I suppose we could go ahead and listen to some more of it and see what she has to say, but I just noted this and I thought it was really absurd and extreme for them to say something like that.
So it fits their evolutionary story, right? That's why they're reporting that piece of data, because it fits the evolutionary story and timeline that they believe in. Now I'm going to show you a video it's by an organization called Minute Earth, and I actually checked into the video because I wanted to see who helped them make this video, right? And so evolutionists, people that were experts in the field, helped them make the video so they would have the correct information. And let's just say, I think they really summed up the differences between human and chimp genomes very well. I appreciated their honesty.
It's often said that we humans share 50% of our DNA with bananas, 80% with dogs, and 99% with chimpanzees. Taken literally, those numbers make it sound like we could pluck one cell from a chimp and one from a human, pull out the tangled bundles of DNA known as chromosomes, unroll each one like a scroll, and read off two nearly identical strings of letters. But in reality, the human and chimp scrolls don't sync up so easily. In the 6 to 8 million years since we split from our last common ancestor, chance mutations and natural selection have changed each of our genomes in radical and unique ways. Two human scrolls fused, leaving us with 23 pairs of chromosomes to chimps' 24.
Yeah, well, this is, I wasn't speaking into the microphone before, but anyway. This is, it looks like a secular video, but I think I've seen it before, but I've seen similar ones anyway. But it's just amazing to me how they would do something like that. We'll go ahead and watch this, I guess.
Other large mutations revised huge sections of text, duplicating a chunk of human DNA here, erasing a chunk of chimp DNA there, while throughout the scrolls, tiny mutations swapped one letter for another. When researchers sat down to compare the chimp and human genomes, those single-letter differences were easy to tally, but the big mismatch sections weren't. For example, if a genetic paragraph, thousands of letters long, appears twice in a human scroll, but only once in its chimp counterpart, should that second human copy count as thousands of changes, or just one? And what about identical paragraphs that appear in both genomes, but in different places, or in reverse order, or broken up into pieces? Rather than monkey around with these difficult questions, the researchers simply excluded all the large mismatch sections.
Yeah, that's a solution, right? Just exclude everything that's different and say we're 98%, 99% similar. That's a joke. Anyway, I thought I would share that little bit of information there. It's it's really annoying that they even think they have an argument, and when they don't have anything whatsoever. And the more you look at their claims, the more you know they're just making up stories. I mean, just wild assertions. I mean, the evidence is screaming in their face, and they're altering the evidence in order to lie to us. And to me, I don't see it as them being naive or not knowing what the evidence is. I think they're intentionally manipulating the evidence to lie to everybody and to hold on to their evolutionary belief, to be able to hold on to their funding and all that, the research and everything. And it's just got to go. It's got to go. It's just totally absurd. There is no such thing as evolution. There's no such thing as microevolution. Variation of the same thing, variation of a given genome is not evolution, because you're not getting instruction that's not there. You're altering what is there. And that's what we are. We're alterations of the same copy of Adam and Eve. We don't have information to be a chimp. That's why we're not chimps. That's why we're humans. It's because we were copied from humans, and there's no such thing as any deep time for evolution to take place, because for one thing, there is no history of mankind going back beyond 6,000 years, or anything going back 6,000 years. And 50 million years would have washed all the sediments and fossils into the ocean, so they don't even know what a million years is to begin with.